Roope Hintz may lack earth-shattering offensive numbers like some of his peers, but his game holds up amongst the best in the NHL, and a big year could be in store for 24.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. There's always more that meets the eye with Roope Hintz. And with the help of an article by David Castillo on DMagazine, we have some context to Roope Hintz's last season and why we could be in store for a big year from the number one center iceman for the Dallas Stars. We also have some updates on a Thomas Harley extension, some good news on that front. Plus, the Dallas Stars have added some goaltending depth in the AHL. I'll touch on that as well on today's episode. Please be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, never miss an episode, drop a like and a comment below. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So this question was asked of me about a month ago on one of the mailbag episodes on how are we going to view Roope Hintz's contract in the future. Of course, he signed that 8-year, $8.45 million per year contract a few seasons ago. And after the first year, this looked like an absolute steal and still is to a large degree, but he had 75 points in 73 games, had that incredible playoff run with 25 points in 23 games. But this past season, it was a good season for Roope. I think our expectations are a lot higher. He left much to be desired in the playoffs, and I know he was dealing with injuries, but 65 points in 10 more games. He did eclipse the 30-goal mark for the third consecutive season, so it's not like he fell off a cliff, but he certainly left much to be desired. And I said this a lot last season, that the Dallas Stars will go as far as Roope Hintz will allow him. He is their number one center, and they need him to be elite when it matters most. And unfortunately, that wasn't quite the case in the postseason this past year. Some of that may have been to Joe Pavelski's decline, especially in the postseason. And Jason Robertson and him really never got going or were on the same track for a majority of the season. And that could change for next year. But this article is fantastic from David Castillo, and I really, really encourage you to read it in its entirety. But I want to show you some of the numbers, the more advanced numbers on Roope Hintz and where he stands amongst some of his peers. And David compared him to Selke Trophy candidates. That's where he sort of figures in, right? And he finished 6th in Selke voting this past season. That's the highest he had ever been. He was 11th in 22-23, and he was 21st in 21-22. And we still believe he's one of the most underrated players in the NHL. But David uses a few numbers to compare Roope amongst some of the Selke Trophy candidates, winners, and runner-ups from the last 5 years or so. So he uses Evolving Hockey's goals above replacement metric. This is a straight comparison of even strength, shot quality, power play effectiveness, and combined total offense if we assume league average goaltending. The forwards are listed by rank in terms of total expected offense. Blue indicates top rank in their category. Green means top 3. Yellow is middle 6. And red is bottom 3. So we go to this first chart, and the EV offense, the top ranked player in this category is Austin Matthews, all across the board. Even strength offense, power play offense, and expected offense. No surprise there. Matthews is a generational talent. He'll score a ton of goals. Congratulations to him, by the way, on being named the new captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. His even strength, power play, and expected offense ranks at the top of all players of the Selke winners and runner-ups from the last few seasons. Roope Hintz is right below him, actually. It's a pretty wide margin. If you look at even strength offense, 1.195 for Austin Matthews. For Roope, it's 0.684. His power play offense is 1.613. Not much of a difference there between Matthews and the expected offense for Roope is 0.84. Those are all in the green category, which means he is in the top 3. So he's right up there with Matthews, and Austin, of course, is at a different tier, but still, he is right there along with Mitch Marner. Barkov is yellow in all his categories. So Roope Hintz is still holding up with some of the best offensive players in the game, like Austin Matthews, and of course, Mitch Marner, even though Mitch, I think, is a complete no-show in a lot of his postseason runs. We've seen a bit more out of Roope Hintz in the playoffs, which is a really, really good sign moving forward. So he says Hintz's offense is basically a tier above everyone else not named Austin Matthews, who again is the best goal scorer in generational talent. So what about the defensive side? Hintz doesn't perform as well as Patrice Bergeron or Alexander Barkov, but it's worth noting that he rates as the best Selke forward on the penalty kill. So even strength offense, shorthanded defense, and expected defense. Roope Hintz is top in shorthanded defense at 1.076. His even strength defense is actually below average at 0.055, but his expected defense is in the middle 6 at 0.131. So no, he's not Patrice Bergeron or Jordan Staal or Barkov, who of course is kind of this modern day Bergeron, who is fantastic offensively and one of the best defensive forwards in the game. And we have to acknowledge that Roope Hintz is the top in shorthanded defense at 1.076. So he is obviously very, very effective on the penalty kill. And that's no surprise. I think we saw that. It was very evident in the postseason. I want to say it was game 4 in Vegas, that left shift he had where he was obviously banged up. He took a couple of pucks to the shin pads and scored the empty net goal, and he couldn't even celebrate after because he was just exhausted. That type of shift just embodies everything that Roope Hintz is, and I think embodies everything that the postseason is in general. But that shift right there just completely embodies what Roope Hintz is about. He puts his body on the line every single night, and when he's in the lineup, he's blocking shots, he's always on his man, and he's always in the right position. He gets rewarded for it sometimes, and he definitely got rewarded for it right there. So I did want to share some of those numbers because it really is an interesting comparison with some of the best defensive forwards in the leagues. And he says there are a lot of takeaways here. The first two being that the Selke should really be Matthews to lose, and that Barkov's win was well earned in 2024. But for Stars fans, this should be nonetheless reassuring. Among his Selke peers, Hintz has the second most threatening offense and the best penalty killer. That's a hell of a profile, the kind that warrants otherwise the most underrated title. The purpose of this exercise is twofold, he says. Not only to remind fans of how good Hintz is compared to his Selke colleagues, but also to think about performance on a spectrum. Next year may or may not end the way 2024 did, and it may or may not end the way 23 did. That's not the point. The point is the next year will be a continuation of Hintz's extended run in the NHL as one of the best defensive forwards, and he still happens to be in the prime of his career. And this sort of leads me into this next season, the upcoming season, which could be a gigantic year for Roope Hintz offensively as well. You have to take into consideration Joe Pavelski has retired, and it looks like Wyatt Johnston is going to slide in on that top line along with him and Robertson, and that can quickly become one of the most dominant lines in all of hockey. They weren't together very often this past season, but when they were, they rank very, very highly in terms of expected offense. And that will open up so much for Roope Hintz's game. It'll open up offense for Robertson and Johnston. I think all three of them will benefit from playing on a single line together. So you're looking at an opportunity for Roope Hintz to have an incredible year offensively. I know he dipped to 65 points, but I don't think there's any question that Roope has the ability to score 85 to 100 points in a season. I think he is definitely capable of being a point per game player. It just all has to come together, and he has to stay healthy enough. And I also mentioned that when I was asked that question about a month ago about how we view his contract. It feels like a steal at this point, but how healthy is he going to be down the line? And throughout the past couple seasons, he's missed some time in the postseason. He's missed some big games, and that certainly had a factor in Dallas not moving on or coming up short in 2 straight seasons in the Western Conference Final, even though the year against Vegas was not much of a factor for him. He was incredible, and he was the Stars' best forward the entire postseason. But we're looking at Roope at just 28 years of age, now playing with Wyatt Johnston and Robertson, who are in their primes. And Johnston's still a bit out of it. He's probably a year or two from really being in his prime, and Robertson's right in the thick of it. This could be one of the dominant lines in the NHL. And he still put up great numbers, of course. His Corsi for percentage last year, 56.50. His goals per 60 was 0.84, which was quite a large drop from the previous 2 seasons where he was above 1.3. He's playing with Johnston on a consistent basis, and Robo, there's no question, no doubt in my mind that that's going to raise. So I think Roope Hintz is going to have a huge, huge season. And as I mentioned, not like he dropped off a cliff, but for the most part, it was a good season. But we're looking for great, and he is the Dallas Stars' #1 center. He needs to be great for the Stars to compete at a high level. So I think good things are on the horizon for Mr. Roope Hintz, and he's a heck of a player, and we're spoiled to have him. He'll always be underrated. We'll continue to scream it from the rooftops, the most underrated forward in the NHL, but it's starting to change a bit. And I think the Selke Trophy voting is starting to reflect that. 21 and 22, he finished 11th and 23, and he finished 6th. I think he cracks the top 5 next season. And if he's a point per game player, there's no way they can leave him out of the top 5. So some excellent stuff from David Castillo. Please go take a look at it in its entirety. Wonderful stuff. And it'll make you feel a bit better as well about Roope Hintz. Okay, we do have some updates about a possible Thomas Harley extension. Nothing crazy, but some good news about Thomas Harley and the Dallas Stars. I'll touch on that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is obsessed with finding you ways to save money on tickets. Go ahead and download the Game Time app. It's free and available on your smartphone, free on the App Store, free on the Google Play Store, and you can find killer last-minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes all the guesswork out of buying tickets for Major League Baseball games, comedy, theater, you name it, they have it. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what it's going to look like when you get there. You don't have to worry about obstructions, a pole, a glass, you name it. We've all been there. We go to a new arena, a new ballpark, and you thought to yourself, I wouldn't have bought these seats if I knew this pole was going to be in my way. No worries with Game Time. So use Game Time, takes all the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So we do have an update about a possible Thomas Harley extension. About a week ago, Leah from the Dallas Morning News, who does fantastic work over there on her Stars coverage, put out an article about a week or 2 ago, and she spoke with general manager Jim Nill, and she asked the question on the possibility of a Thomas Harley re-signing. And the quote from the article is, "We're having talks. We're going to get him signed. I'm not too concerned." So Stars fans everywhere, Jim Nill, he has it under control. They believe they'll be able to get a deal done before training camp. And we've talked about this quite a bit throughout the summer. Is it going to be long-term? Is it going to be short-term? I think we've kind of came to a conclusion. It's going to be short-term, more than likely, a bridge deal, get him locked up for the next 4 seasons, and then sign him long-term a bit later on down the line, because they have a lot of deals they have to worry about, like Wyatt Johnston, Maverick Bourque, Logan Stankoven, that trio that I have mentioned so many times throughout the summer. So some good news on that front. Looks like they will get him done before training camp, which is about a month away. Can you believe it? The Dallas Stars training camp is right around the corner, and things will really begin to ramp up. But obviously, Harley had a fantastic year at just the age of 22, really came onto the scene offensively, and I would love to lock him up. He seems like he's going to be a top 25, top 20 defenseman in the NHL throughout his career. I think he has that ceiling. I was super, super high on him coming into last season. And boy, did he have a breakout year. Left some to be desired in the postseason. And I think a lot of Stars did, unfortunately, but I think that's just a part of his progression as a player. But I did love the contrast of General Manager Jim Nill and Jerry Jones when he spoke about re-signing CD Lamb, or not re-signing, but extending CD Lamb. And it's just always fun to kind of compare the different franchises in the Metroplex. And over the last weekend, when Jerry Jones came out and said he doesn't really have any urgency at all to get CD Lamb re-signed. And then you have Jim Nill, who's like, no, we'll be fine. We'll definitely get him done. It's just funny. And I also think speaks to the fact that, let's face it, Jim Nill could get fired. He could get let go. Jerry Jones's job is not much in jeopardy, to say the least. Really, anybody's job outside of the front office in the Dallas Cowboys is pretty safe. And that can be good. It can be bad. I'd argue it's probably worse for a team like the Cowboys that is still waiting to get back to an NFC championship. I don't want to get too deep into a Dallas Cowboys conversation because it's same old song and dance. But the Stars have certainly ran themselves like an organization that knows what it's doing over the past 5 years or so, which is a very, very good sign, even though there are some deals that do not look very good, like Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn, but those are coming to an end rather shortly. But yeah, some great news and a bit of an update on Thomas Harley, since we haven't talked about him here over the last month or so, because I think we all just kind of realize it's going to get done at some point, and that's good news for everybody. All right. Some breaking news of yesterday, nothing earth-shattering, but the Dallas Stars have signed some goaltending depth in the AHL for the Texas Stars. I'll get into that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So yesterday, the Dallas Stars went out and signed a goaltender out of Sweden, Magnus Hellberg, to a 1-year, 2-way contract. The contract will begin in 24-25. Hellberg is 33, posted a 1-1 record with a 2.50 goals against average and .922 save percentage in 3 appearances with the Pittsburgh Penguins last season. Made 33 saves in a 4-3 overtime victory against the Los Angeles Kings. That was his highlight from last season. But he will be with the Texas Stars in the American Hockey League. He's 6'6", 220 pounds. Of course, the Stars did need some goaltending depth after Matt Murray left in the offseason. He is no longer with the Texas Stars. Remi Porier will take control of the number one netminder down there in Texas, and it looks like Hellberg will slot in there to be the backup. He appeared in 27 combined American Hockey League games with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins and Charlotte Checkers. Hellberg went 9.82 with a 2.92 goals against average and a .905 save percentage in 19 games with Wilkes-Barre Scranton, and 5-2 with a 2.34 goals against average, .898 save percentage, and 1 shutout in 8 appearances with Charlotte. He appeared in one 2024 Calder Cup playoff game with the Checkers as well. He's native of Uppsala, Sweden. I think that's how you say it. I apologize if I completely messed that up. He was drafted in the second round, 38th overall in 2011 by the Nashville Predators. He also is a one-time world champion gold medalist with Sweden. So the Stars have added some depth down in Texas, and he looks like he will back up Remi Porier, which will take a more number one type role down there in Texas with Matt Murray departing in the offseason. Dallas doesn't have a ton of goaltending depth in general, which was a bit of a concern at some points last year, even though Scott Wedgwood held everything together. If Scott went down while Otter was out, Stars could have been in a world of hurt. And right now they're still sort of just banking on Ottinger, and DeSmith is a very, very quality backup. But after that, it's not like the Stars have a superstar waiting in the wings like a team like Nashville, who of course has Saros, but also a very, very talented Russian in the AHL. So we'll see how it all pans out. But some good news either way for the Dallas Stars, who are gearing up for training camp in about a month, and it will be in Frisco, which will be a ton of fun. So Stars still have some work to do here, but for training camp, can't wait to see how it all plays out. I'm so excited to see the defensive pairings, what the lines are going to look like. Is Jake ready to have a bounce back year? Thomas Harley, get him back in the building. Just a lot of questions revolving around the Stars team, especially on the back end. Matt Dumba and Lyubushkin are just going to be a story day in and day out. I feel like they're going to be the new Lundqvist. We're not going to ask about Lundqvist as much here this upcoming season. It's going to be Dumba and Lyubushkin. How do they fit in? How does it work? And can the Stars repeat and get back to the Western Conference Final? Of course, hopefully get over the hump. So can't wait for training camp in about a month. Will be a lot of fun. But that'll wrap up today's episode of Locked On Stars. Some great stuff about Roope Hintz. Really, really encourage you to go check out the article by David Castillo on DMagazine. It is free. It's not behind a paywall, so please go take a look at that and feel a bit brighter about Roope Hintz and his future. Thomas Harley should be done here, which is a good sign, and Magnus Hellberg as well. Welcome to the Dallas Stars. Have a great Wednesday, Stars fans, and we'll see you on Friday. So long, everybody.